Hey guys, somebody's gun here. Today we're going to be doing a quick VOD review of the 2 wins from UnknownxArmy of NRG in the first 2-round solo cash cup. So what I do notice is that, Unknown kind of not fell off, but struggled a little bit to adapt to linear expo. When someone is caused to change their settings and how they play the game, obviously it's going to take some adjusting to. And through that adjustment, I think we've seen now Unknown become a much better overall player. And I don't know if it's from playing with Kanata or a mix of having to switch and play more passively because he wasn't confident in his controls. But Unknown has developed himself into a much more patient player. Now, don't get me wrong, he's still great at W keying and opens, but in these stacked lobbies, you're not able to do that consistently. And he has shown he's much more patient, much more able to play the mid game without having to push everyone. And I mean, you see this. He's simply fishing, gaining loot, and I guess being passive is not the right term, but just looting. Typically we'll see him early, mid game, just searching for fights, looking out for anyone that he can W key. And that's how he used to like to play the game. And during opens, I'm sure he loves W key, but his style has now improved much more in these stacked games to give himself the ability to compete at both the open style format and the custom style format. So I'm going to go ahead, skip up to his elim here. And this is kind of the solo meta, unfortunately. It's going to be sneaking people. This is how it's done. You have to be aware of what's going on around you, whether it be bushes, someone just simply not seeing another player, or getting lazy and getting lasered. But Unknown's going to laser this player to about 30 HP before that other player reacts. He's going to grab both pieces above him, which is pretty lazy from that player we see get eliminated. If he puts a floor or a cone above him, gives him much more time. Not much more, but should give him enough to pop another flopper, relax, and re-engage in the fight. It's just a lazy play not to throw a ceiling above you, which gives Unknown an easy elimination. Then we're just going to see some fairly passive gameplay from him. He's going to get up to the house to the south of Misty Meadows here. It's like the disco place. And I'm not going to have you guys sit here and watch this, but he kind of just sits in this house for a full zone. And super unlike the Unknown of the past, just playing very passive, waiting for zone to appear, not looking for fights, not looking to get tags. He just sits in a cone in this house. And due to the new point style, that is a huge part of this kind of game now, because most of the points are in the top 15. Yes, you'll get placement points before that, but about half of the placement points are still in the top 15 or above. So you have to play passive during that mid game to not risk losing a bunch of those points. And in these stacked lobbies, you can't just W key people. They're too good to simply just get pushed and lose fights. Yes, you may get an elimination or two, but to consistently take on the best players in the world, or at least in the region, is not very likely to be in your favor. Get your Storm Surge, because we see the warning pop up here, but honestly, it's not going to take it into effect. You get your damage, and then you can relax and play zone to zone, play safely. I think that I've seen third and fourth zone from some of the top players in this meta play extremely safely. They get their damage done early, and then they'll relax in these zones, so that way they can simply accrue placement points, get to the end game. Because what you really want to do is play end game, because that's going to give you the opportunity to score the most placement points. And if you're playing through the mid game passively, end game eliminations will come. You just run around with your pump out, you get elims, If you're on controller, you run around with your SMG out, and eliminations will accrue. But in this mid game, it's extremely risky. You put yourself at too much of a risk to get sprayed by the lobby or potentially lose a fight because someone hops in your box on linear, or they simply one pump you. There's too many opportunities to throw your game where you should just be playing passively in the mid game. Trying to reinforce that point because I think in this meta, that's really what you want to see in solos, or that's what you want to do at least. But we'll watch Unknown here. He gets zone, and nothing crazy. Just kind of gonna look around, look for tags, identify where the edge of zone is, and then look to hold people with the rest of the lobby. So he's second height right here. There's a player above him. He's not trying to take height in this zone. Taking height in 50-50 is going to do him no good, especially when it could pull up an even higher mountain or pull all the way down. You have no idea yet. Don't waste the mats. You have tons of floppers to make a height play if you want, but you don't have the heals or the blue heals to come back from a poor play or a nice play by your opponent. So relax, hold people on edge of zone, make it more difficult for them to play the end game, give yourself a better chance to win. We see here a zone's going to pull all the way across, and you know, Unknown, even though we sped this up, he's kind of just waiting. We'll see zone go opposite here. He's waiting and looking down there for someone to drop a pag. He knows one of those players will, and he has the floppers to go back into zone if he needs to. So nice little play from him, just being patient, knowing someone will drop a pad on that side. If he doesn't, likely he can find a pad in front of him. Lands in a guy's box, and that guy simply had no idea what's going on. It's hard to react when you're tunneling and someone just pops into your box when you don't expect it. I wouldn't recommend it, but if you absolutely need an impact frag, hopping into the front side of someone's tunnel is absolutely going to freak them out, and you definitely have the surprise. What I like to see here from Unknown is he's got a ton of mats, and he's going to stay on the front side, get into zone, not try and fight anyone while rotating in, but once he gets in, he's going to look for tags. He won't get too greedy looking for a ton of tags here, but when he sees them, he'll take them, close off his wall, and go again. Then once again, we see him get zone. He's going to immediately go for the front side, grab as much of the tunnel as he can to get into zone, and just ultimately always stay front side here. Just working to get himself on the less congested side of zone. And now that he's on front side, he doesn't need to spend a ton of hard materials tarping in. He still has 340 metal. He can use wood because he's not really going to get pressured on the front side here. And then just work his way into zone. And once he is, we'll see him once again look to make a couple plays, look to go for some elims, and pressure people in zone. Gets an elim, and because of the amount of floppers he has, he can make plays in zone. A lot of players are going to be super weak at this point. He gets lucky that, or Macwood gets lucky that he had a decent bit of health, but still loses out because he had no opportunity to close off that other player. Then Unknown goes back, gets his loot from the elim, quickly is stacked up on mats, grabs the drum gun, which is key. If you know, any controller player with a drum gun is a huge danger to the lobby. Unknown knows that. He takes the drum gun, and that'll help him take over this game. Once again, identifies loot on the ground, looks around, secures the loot, grabs extra shields. And this is going to be key to his victory, because if he was just white HP here, I don't know that he wins this game. But now he's going to be able to make a play for high ground because he has a ton of health. Whereas he probably plays more passively if he just has 100 HP. So he knocks the player above. Nice play from Avery, but we see the cone. And the great cone from Unknown stops Avery's upward movement. And he gets a couple shots on him, does enough damage to dissuade Avery from continuing that build battle. Avery likely doesn't have more health. So Unknown easily takes height there after a nice cone play and then an edit afterwards with the shoddy shot. Then he's just going to hold high ground, knowing that he has the heals, the mats to outplay Color here. Colorful may have a chance, and he almost gets him here. If we see this, Unknown probably cannot get that flopper off before he takes another tick to zone, and Colorful would have won. But Colorful got stuck in zone, took one tick when he was about 2 HP, and then goes down to Unknown. So the drum gun is how he won the game, and we'll see that again in the next game. He's very consistent with it, but unlike the Unknown we've seen before, he's not super aggressive. Plays more passively, plays for the win, and I like this style of Unknown. All right, this is game 2, or his second win. It's going to be game 6, the last game of round 2 of the Cash Cup, and I just want to share that this style of Unknown is now the type of player that he is. He will immediately grab his loot and get the heck out of dodge, or get out of this area, something that we normally wouldn't see from him. You know, he's going to grab a couple slurp barrels, grab a little bit of loot, not too much, doesn't get super greedy. There's been multiple players that landed slurpy, so instead of trying to contest the area, he's more focused on grabbing fish. And that's kind of the key to his success in these lobbies. Being consistently fishing and grabbing those floppers. It also gives him better weapons. So I believe he gets a purple tack out of this game just from fishing. And last game he got a gold tack. So over and over again, the fishing is going to help him not only grab extra heals, also grab extra or better weapons. And right there, that's the key difference, I think, in Unknown's gameplay, is he normally would take that fight, but I guess it's a different style of play that we've seen, and again, I do like it. He's going to be looking for late game play, looking to disengage early to mid game unless he has a huge advantage in a fight. But anyway, I'm happy to see him adapt his gameplay to the current meta and how things are going. That's really all I wanted to show from the early game. He's going to loot up some more, fish some more, and we don't necessarily need to watch that. We'll jump ahead to the end game here, or mid, and then watch the end game as well. But again, just playing very passive. What we'll see from him do here with this player is extremely smart. He baits him into coming over above him. And then if this player doesn't RPG into his box, Unknown's going to be able to sneak him from the other side. Either way, the play works out for Unknown because this guy Trey Faux Vortex, whatever his name is going to lose track of where Unknown is. And honestly, not a huge fan of him sitting here with the top open. You don't know what this player is going to do or what weapons he has. But we'll watch the bait here. So Unknown throws a roof and a floor above him. This player is going to get aggressive, try and go into his box, and drops down in without even knowing where Unknown is. This gives Unknown the surprise advantage to go ahead, hit that shot. And if we go back, Unknown's plan was likely to sneak out this ramp right here. So he could, if this player doesn't go into his box, Unknown was going to pop out, sneak a shot on this guy, and then probably take height on him. But because he comes into the box, he still has the surprise, and it's going to give him the ability to win this fight either way. Just a little play here, and want to point that out. We'll go ahead, continue to speed this up. It's honestly not much happens. Again, we see Unknown playing more passively in these mid games than we have in the past. He's going to be patient, and then he consistently is rotating early to zone. He'll pick a path. He's following old builds here. He's got heals, so he's not super afraid of taking shots. Either way, he gets a very free rotation in the zone. Uses little builds, and then once again, we'll see him play super passively here, sitting in a cone, letting his materials build. He's going to take a couple of shots on people. Nothing we really need to be aware of. Just, I recommend in this meta playing super safe in the mid game. Playing for end game every time, because that is where you get all your placement points. And you can pick up elims in end game as well. You don't necessarily need to get them mid game unless you need a frag and you're in shambles. Nice little laser from Unknown. He gets laser back. And look at that. There's the drum. And that is a problem for everyone else in the lobby now. He's got 3 launch pads. Basically max mats. A stacked loadout. And we're moving into 50-50 here. He does need health, so he's going for another frag. And honestly, this is just a controller player pushing into someone's box with the drum gun. It's nothing crazy here. Unknown has pretty good piece control compared to most. But now he's going to take high ground in 50-50, which is good and bad. I mean, he uses up a lot of his metal here. And if he gets zone, awesome. He's going to have the ability to possibly maintain. If he doesn't, okay, we've spent some mats, but at least now we have a good idea of what's going on in the surrounding area. He's gaining that information to help those rotates in the future. I'm a huge fan of this. Huge. Of always looking around, always looking for your rotates. So we just see he's scouting where zone is. He's looking for his rotation and how he could make it. Nice little shot here. He hits the pad, but he doesn't get the half pad like I think he wanted to, so he goes back because I don't think he wanted to get exposed. And then I believe that he was going for that old tower. We'll see this where Soy Luke is. I think that was his ultimate goal, but someone beat him there. So the combination of not getting the half pad as well as someone beating him to the location he was going for. Oh, there's even 2 guys. It makes him go back, play it a little more safely, and then honestly, it helps him in the long run because now he lets zone come to him. Or he lets zone start moving, sorry. And he can get on the front side, get a refresh here because he's healthy, has the drum gun, knows he has that advantage because he's on controller against people. And then he's going to rotate in a corner. That pad was kind of questionable. Don't really know what that does, but we crank for height versus Uzi. And then we'll see the cone again. We pointed that out last game, that Unknown was able to cone Avery, which helped him out immensely. Then Unknown's chilling on 7 floppers. He has 5 minis. Absolutely amazing endgame loadout for not only a controller player, but anyone. If you're sitting on this on high ground with basically max mats, you should not lose this game. Now, what you have to do is watch out for patters. You have to watch out for the grappler. And if you can avoid those 2 things, actually, there's one more. You have to watch out for people making flopper plays. If you can avoid those 3 things, you win the game. Then all it comes down to is pressuring second height to make sure that they don't make a late game high ground take. So Unknown does a great job of this with the drum gun, just continues to pressure anyone that is near him or close to him, possibly making a play for height. And it's just clinical. I mean, we see players on high ground win the game over and over again. He's constantly reconnecting, spraying and pressuring the players who are in vulnerable positions. And then, again, looking to make sure no one has the possibility to contest him. So this player's on second height. Unknown's like, nah, man, you're not taking this. We hear the grappler, and I believe it's Avery that has it. So not that Unknown would be able to know this at this point, but just continuing pressure on any new builds you could see and trying to eliminate players, force their materials down. It's key. Looks like Jack tries to make a play, doesn't have the materials to continue that push, so he drops back down, and Unknown easily keeps high ground with some nice builds. And he has no reason to drop down until the last player, and even with the last player, he has no reason to give up high ground. He can fight this fight from above, make the other player come up to him, or just continue to pressure because you out-heal everyone. But nice play from Unknown, and as we know, he's the king at taking angles. Some quick little edits there, and again, he cones Crims. That's consistent ability to cone players, which is winning him fights. Those players get caught up in the cone, and regardless of how good at side cone jumps you are, it screws you up to have to get caught. But the patience here by Unknown, waiting to see what Crims does. He can sit in zone as long as he wants. Once he is able to identify Crims has no builds, easy win. Easy win. And this will wrap up the tournament for him. He wins by 88 total points. If we pull up the scoreboard, it was, I believe he had 220, and the next highest was 132. So just absolute domination by this guy. And it's what you want to see. It's a player adapting to new metas, new play styles that they weren't super comfortable with or weren't able to do consistently before. And we see it shows off for him. Hopefully that hard work continues to pay off for him. Love to see Unknown continue to do well and learning new play styles, learning to adapt, and showing these players that are looking to be like him, because we're seeing a huge growing controller base have an option or have a player to look up to emulate and try and copy, give themselves the ability to succeed at the highest level. But that's all I got for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at somebody'sgun. Comment your thoughts down below. What'd you think of Unknown's game? Do you really think it's changed? Do you think he has the ability to play this style consistently? But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.